Today we will start with studying geography, the first section of chapter 1, from page 4 to page 9. Our objectives for today are to define the term geography, identify the main branches of geography, describe the job of different geographers, name different tools geographers use, analyze the type of information geographers can get from different tools. The key words that you have to know from this section are geography, geographers, landscape, social science, region, and map. First, on your index cards, please, try to find the correct definition for each of the given terms. Try to match the term with its corresponding definition. So please use your index cards so you can write or match the term with its corresponding definition. Keep your answers there on the index card, and because we're going to check your answers whether they were correct or not at the end of the session. Please, this is actually just a 2 minutes activity, okay? So you have just 2 minutes to try to match each term with its corresponding definition. So the most important question that we will answer at the end of the session is, what is geography? This is a very important question that we have to answer at the end of the session. On this slide, you are shown actually different photos, and each photo shows you what we call a different feature in a given place. So you are shown the desert, you are shown the sea, you are shown certain islands. So what you have to think about, the land that you live in, what does it look like? And you have to think about what is the weather that you will experience in that land, or what is the weather that you are experiencing on the land that you are living in. Think about the people. How do they live? Where do they live? How their houses look like. Do they prefer to live in houses, in apartments, in villas? What are the kinds of jobs? And what are the jobs what kinds of jobs are available there in that land? And what cars do they drive? Do they prefer, for example, the 7-seat cars, or do they prefer the 5-seat cars, okay? Or do they use mainly the public transportation? Do they prefer, for example, to use the metros instead of cars, okay? So all these given questions, or the answers of these questions, are different because it depends on the land that you are studying about. In this slide, we have to think about these two different places shown on this slide. They are really totally different, but we can find two similarities between them too. So take 3 minutes, think about it, about the two similarities and the two differences between the given places shown in the figures, and then try to answer this question: how does geography contribute to the world we live in? Please again, try to use your index card to answer these questions too, because you will share your answers with your friends, and we will check and compare your answers to the correct answer at the end of this session. All the information that you gathered up till now is helping you to define geography. So while you're thinking about the area that you're living in, about the people, how do they live in your area, or how do they move from one place to another? So geography actually is the study of the world, its people, and the landscapes they create. Keep in your mind, to a geographer, a place's landscape is all the human and physical features that make it unique. So again, geography is the study of the world, its people, and the landscapes they create. What is a landscape? The landscape is related to all the human and physical features that make that place unique one, or special one, or different one. So when you were asking yourself, how do people live in your area, or do people in your area live in apartments or in the houses, or do they use their cars to move from one place to another, or what jobs do they have? The same things or the same questions are asked by the geographers also when they want to study a given landscape. So, I'm going to show you different photos for different places with different landscapes too. This is the first one, as you notice. It actually shows you a given place in a given extremely cold weather or cold climate. See the people, the clothes that is used by these people too, they are heavy because it's so cold. Look here for this place. Also, this is a floating market. See the people, how do they live? How do they move from one place to another, for example? Now, the third one also, it shows us another place with different landscape too. So people in this place live differently than people in the floating market or than the people in this area too. So as you see here, we have representation of 3 different landscapes. Why? Why did we know that these landscapes are different? Because the physical features are different and the human features are different too. So if you want to explain how do scientists work? Usually scientists, they do gather information and evidences, and they try to find the similarities and the differences between different things in order to infer or to find how things are related or how things work. So, in the case of geography, geography is also considered as a science. Why do we consider geography as a science? Because many of the questions that geographers ask deal with how the world works, or what are the causes, for example, for the mountains to be formed. What are the causes for the mountains to be formed? What are the causes of the tornadoes? Geographers have to think like the scientists too. So geographers, they look at the data or the information, they gather them from different places, they try to analyze the given information, they try to analyze the given data, they have to find the results, and also they have to publish the results. The same procedure is also followed by the geographers too. So geographers have to collect their data, and for example, they can study the sets of images collected by the satellites orbiting high above the Earth. They analyze the data. They try to find similarities, differences. They have to relate the information to each other so they can explain how things are working too. So geographers are considered as a scientists, and geography can be considered as a science. However, not everything that geographers study can be measured in numbers. So, geographers, they can study the people and their lives. For example, they can go to a certain place and they may ask people whether they want to change their government or not, whether they are satisfied with their lives or not. Such kind of information cannot be measured in numbers. Hence, for this reason, sometimes geography is called social science. Why? Because it is studying the people and the relationships among them. So, to summarize it, geography as a social science is a field that studies people and the relationships among them. Those geographers who study people, they don't dig in the caves or they climb the mountains. They don't actually collect measurable data because they are dealing mainly with how do people live. They go to certain places, they talk to the people who live there. They want to learn about people's life and communities. So, for geography, we can consider it as a science or as the social science according to the given study or according to the kind of information that a given geographer is collecting. So if the geographer is making his own observations and is collecting measurable data, this is related to science. If he's viewing the satellite images and trying to understand how the Earth is orbiting around the sun, and is trying to compare the information and the numbers that are given between different geographers, this is related to science. He's setting, for example, hypotheses. He's trying to validate this hypothesis. This is related to science. But if the geographer is visiting certain places, talking to people, asking them about how they can improve their life, for example, what are their suggestions, for example, to improve their lives, or how they can increase their income. So these questions or such kind of studies is related to social science. So let's look at this photo. It's really amazing, showing the desert. Okay, this photo is from Algeria. So if we want to remember how did we explain a country's landscape or a given landscape, we explained it as the human and physical features of a given place. If we look here in this photo, we're going to notice that the people of Algeria, they do live in small villages, okay? And they are living in the small villages in these huge deserts that are full of tall sandy dunes. Together, this physical feature, which is the huge desert, and how people are living, they constitute what do we call, or they will create the country's landscape. Now this part is so important. So geographers look at the world at many levels, okay? They don't look at the world as just the whole world. No, actually their studies is divided according to categorized according to the level they are according to which level they are working on. For example, geographers can work at a local level, can work at a regional level, and can work at global level. Okay, so at each level, the geographers, they do ask different kind of questions, and they do gather two different kind of information. When they put the information that is gathered together, then from different levels, then they can better understand the given place, and they also can understand the role of that place in the world. So let's start by how do geographers study issues at a local level. When a given geographer visit a given town or a community, and he started to ask or to figure out how do people in a given town or community live? What is the local government like? How do the people who live there get around? What do they eat? Such kind of questions, okay, is related to a given study by a geographer, and this study is done at the local level. Why? Because most of these questions are asked for a given small town or for a given small community. Okay, so why it is important, or why it's important for the geographers to do studies at local level? It's very important because it will help people to improve their life, or to know how the governments can improve the people's life, because the leaders may figure out from the people's or from this study that they have to build, for example, new schools, new shopping centers, sport complexes, Okay, they can also help people who live in a city or a town to plan for future changes too, because people will know what do they need to improve their lives, what is important for them to live better. So really they can plan for future changes. Now, sometimes the geographers, they want to study a bigger chunk of the world, which means they will actually widen their studies not only to include a town or a community, but they will include a given region. Okay? Usually, geographers, they do divide the world into regions. First, what is a region? Let me show you one photo, and you will try to infer directly what do we mean by region. So this photo usually shows the what we call the Arab world. Okay, why do you think that we called this photo, or why do we call this region as the Arab region? Because of what? Okay, mainly because most of the people in this area, they do speak the Arabic language. So people, they share a common feature, which is the language. So a region is a part of the world that has one or more common features that distinguish it from the surrounding areas. So this is what do we mean by the region. How do geographers divide the world into the region? They do choose common features. Okay, so they choose common features and they do start to divide the world into regions. I will give you another example. So let's look at this region too, the ones in the blue. So as you see, this region, it constitutes different places, okay, and different countries, for example, from all the given world, okay. So they do share this region, all the given countries shown in this region, they do share what? They do share one kind of climate, which is the tropical climate. So this region, we call it what? Tropical region. Why? Because all the countries that are shown in this region, they do experience hot weather with higher precipitation rate, for example. Another example too. So let's look also at this region. Okay, this region actually is called the Scandinavian region. Okay, this region, we call it the Scandinavian region. It's mainly shown in the brown color. So why do we call it the Scandinavian region? Because first, it's located, according to its location, it's located in the northern part of Europe. People in this region, they do speak similar language and they do practice the same religion. I will show you another example of a region too. What do we call the Sahara Desert? Okay, so the Sahara Desert is another region that is constituting also of different countries too. Okay, for Sahara, the geographers here, they depended on what? They depended on a given physical feature to identify this region. What does that mean? Because of the Sahara Desert, they actually said that this given region on the map, we will call it what? Sahara Desert. So whenever also geographers can rely on a given physical feature to identify a given region. Another example, what we call the Rocky Mountains of the Western United States, also they were used to identify a given region in the United States. They call it the Rocky Mountains region. Okay, so The geographers, they may rely on different common features to distinguish a given area from its surrounding. They may rely on a physical feature, they may rely on human features, or they may rely, for example, on what do we call the climate features or the climate characteristics. Guys, not all regions are easily defined. Okay, especially if these regions are based on human characteristics such as the language, the religion, and the history. The size of the area doesn't matter as long as the area shares the same characteristic. Let me give you an example. Some regions are so huge, like the Americas. So this huge region includes two continents, North America and South America. Now keep in your mind that not all the times that regions can be easily defined. Okay, not all the times regions can be easily defined. Okay, especially if the regions are based on the human characteristics of a given place, such as the language, the religion, or the history. Okay, now the regions, they could be huge one if it is constituting of high number of many countries, and it could be also a given small region constituting of one country, two countries, or we can consider some huge cities as regions too. This is actually will be decided by the geographer who is doing a given study. Now, geographers, why do geographers study regions? Geographers study regions to see how people interact with one another. So, they may, as I informed you before, they may study a city, for example, such as London in England, to learn how the city's people govern themselves, for example. They can study and compare also one region to another. In this way, they can learn more about the life and the landscapes in different regions. They can compare also the differences between given regions too. So usually dividing the world into regions makes it easier for the geographers to do their studies. So we learned in the previous slides that the geographers, they often look at places at the local level or at the regional level. And we learned about the advantages of both of them. Now, geographers, they do want to study the world, and actually they do want to study the world on a global level. So, when geographers, they do ask how events and ideas from one region of the world affect people from other region of the world, this means that they are studying the world on a global level. Now, geographers who study the world on a global level, they usually try to find relationships among people who live far apart. So, if I'm actually checking people or a given event in the Arab world and how it is affecting, for example, people in Scandinavia, or the people also in South America, or the people, for example, in the Far East, this means that I'm doing what we call a study at the global level. Okay, so if I'm studying the production of the COVID-19 vaccine, the production of this vaccine in, for example, the China, okay, how this production of COVID-19 vaccine will affect, for example, North America, South America, the Arab world, the North African region, the Southern African region, Scandinavia. So actually I'm studying how one event, the launching of this vaccine, will affect the whole world. This is what we call studying a given event at a global level. And you know that nowadays the means of communication are advanced ones, and we can communicate easily. Geographers, they can provide us with information easier too. So we are able to help each other and to figure out how to live in a rapidly changing world too. So on the whiteboard, I listed for you 3 examples just to make it for you easier to figure out how can we classify at what levels the geographers are working. So I listed for you 3 examples. The first example we will start with studying the efficiency of the transport system in Abu Dhabi city. So such transport system actually will affect the people who are living in Abu Dhabi city. We're going to study the efficiency of such a transport system. So such kind of study can be considered that it should be done at the local level, okay? Or it will study the effect of such system on people living in Abu Dhabi city only, okay? Now, in the second example, studying the effect of ozone depletion on Scandinavia and North America. Okay, so ozone depletion, it's a given environmental change. So we are studying the effect of this environmental change on Scandinavia region and North America and the region of North America. So this study can be done also on what? On a given regional level. Okay, so it can be done on a given regional level. The third case, studying how the economic contraction in the American economy will affect the whole, or will affect the given world. So look here, in this case actually, because we are studying how the American economy will affect the world, so the American economy will affect the world, we will consider this study that it will be done at a global level. Okay, because we are studying the effect of one factor, which is the economic contraction in the American economy, on the whole world. Okay, so I hope that this example will help you to figure out how can we classify the 3 levels that the geographers can work on while doing their studies or while conducting their studies. So now, what are the geographers' tools? So what are the geographers' tools that the geographers use in order to conduct their studies? So mainly the geographers, they do use the maps. The map is a flat drawing that shows all the parts of the world on the Earth's surface. A globe is a spherical or a ball-shaped model of the entire planet. Now, what you have to know is that we have certain differences between the maps and the globes. First, that, regarding the given shape, the map is a flat while the globe is a spherical one. So for the map, maybe it's easier to work with because you can use it as a flat sheet. It's easier also to show small areas like cities on the map, and more information than the globe can be shown on that map too, and more details actually. For the globe, it's spherical like the Earth. It's not possible to show some details on the globe the same as it is shown in the map. Okay, so not all the given details that you can show it on a map, you can show it on the globe, and usually the globe is more expensive than the map. Okay, to study more the differences between the maps and the globe, think about it as if the globe is an orange. Okay, so if you took the peel off of an orange and you wanted to lie completely flat, can you do it? Simply no. Okay, you cannot. Okay, unless you stretched or tore the peel first. So this is what happens also when you are drawing a given map. So places on the map might look a little bit farther apart than they really are, and some of the details, they may be distorted too. Geographers actually, they lie also and they depend on satellite images. Okay, so the satellite images, they rendered the mission of the geographers to be easier. You know that? Because we have different kinds of satellite images that they can show you specific details, specific locations. Okay, so much of the information that is gathered by the satellite images are used mainly in the geographers' studies too. Okay, so if you want to study a given area nowadays, geographers mainly rely on the satellite images. We have many other tools that are used by geographers, such as the computer programs, the measuring devices, the notebooks, or the tape recorders too. So by now we're done with the lesson, so we have to start with the closure activities just to make sure that you actually mastered the given objectives. Please miss, on your copybook you have to write the answers of these questions. Don't forget that you have to write the title with the date. As we explained before, try to answer these questions. I'm going to time you in just for 5 minutes to finish answering these questions. Early finishers, please, you can research about the tunnel that connects England to France. Please, I want a brief presentation that shows me when and how the channel was built, the size and the depth and the design of the channel, the cost and the number of workers that was used for or to build that channel, the benefits and the advantages of this channel too. Okay, so when you're done, please join the Zoom session. I'll be there waiting for you. See you. Good luck.